Good morning friends. Today I am going to cover the basic configuration for the ISIS. This part has been already configured with the segment routing for the ISIS, and I am going to demonstrate today the configuration between PE1 and PE2. So this is the prefix set I am going to configure for the IPv4, and IPv6 set will be 2001. This is 16002 for PE2, and this prefix set has been already configured for the remaining nodes. Let's deep dive into the configuration part. This is my basic ISIS configuration where only loopback and interface has been called. No segment routing configuration. No MPLS interface enabled. Hence forwarding table will be empty. My ISIS agency is up between other routers, between PE2, PE1 and PE3. So let's deep dive into the basic segment routing configuration for the ISIS. So first we can configure the segment routing. So under this section we have many options like global block, which by default is 16,001 to 23,999, and in case if you change it, then you need to reload the box so that the new global prefix it can be used. Local block is for manual agency seed assignment. By default router will assign agency seed automatically and generally start from 24,000. This is the mapping server. We need it in the case of LDP. We will see in the subsequent videos. Global block, generally this is 16,000 to 23,999, but if you are keeping it default, no need to configure. Let's go inside the ISIS. For the IPv4 address family, first thing I need to do is to enable the matrix style wide. It is required for the advanced feature in the ISIS for the higher metric. Then segment routing MPLS. Same thing we need to do for the IPv6. So this part we have enabled for the address family. So now we need to configure the prefix SID. Agency SID we no need to mention anywhere. In case if you need to define manually, then you can use that local block and then define manual agency, but it is not required. It is automatically taken care by the routers. prefix SID. So here we have two values, one is index and one is absolute. Index means for this router just I need to mention it 1, and based on the segment routing global box it will calculate that value. And absolute means we can define the number. So let's say 16,001. Address family IPv6 unicast, prefix SID absolute. So I am taking from the same sRGB. So this is our complete configuration for the segment routing. At the global level we have enabled the segment routing. Under the address families we have enabled the matrix style void and segment routing MPLS. And under the loopback interface we have configured the prefix SID. At JNCIE SID, router is going to take care of that automatically. So if we commit this configuration, show as agency yes, interface has been enabled for the MPLS. If we see here, and forwarding table should be populated with the labels values, yes. So if you check this prefix SID labels, show as a segment routing label table, so we should populate all the prefix SID values for the IPv6 and IPv4. So we can see it is populate for 1, 2, router 2 we are going to configure. So that's the reason you are not able to see the prefix SID for the router 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is for the IPv6. Let's configure on the R2 segment routing. Let's configure here global block same. And you can define the local block as well in case if you need to define the manual agency SID. So it start from the 15,000, so you can define till this range. Router ISI score, so we need to configure it for the address families, matrix style wide to carry those high matrix, segment routing MPLS. This is for the IPv6. So second portion we have completed first for the segment routing. Second we need to configure it under the address family. Now we need to configure the prefix SID under the loopback interface. Prefix SID absolute 16,002 for R2. For IPv6 address family, this is my prefix SID. So this is the complete ISIS segment routing configuration for R2. Segment routing we have defined here, and then matrix style wide and segment routing MPLS under each address family. And for the loopback we need to specify the prefix SID. Our ISIS agency is up between all routers. MPLS should be enabled on the all boxes, all interfaces. Show MPLS forwarding table. Then forwarding table should be populated with the all prefixes and adjacency set labels for IPv4 as well as IPv6. Show ISIS segment routing label table. So it will populate all those values. For R1 it is 16,001, for R2 it is 16,002, for R3 it is there, for R4, R5, R6, and this is for the IPv6 segment. And you can see the show ISIS database verbose. You can see here all the options, like for router 1 IP address is 1.1.1, and here it is carrying the prefixed index, that is 1 for router 1, and here are the some flags. So this is the node flag which needs to be set for the prefixed, and here other related to IPv6, IPv4, then explicit null. Here it is the algorithm which is 0, that is strictly SPF. And then we should see here the sRGB value and the agency seed as well. So this we can see the agency seed for this interface 9.9.12.1. For other interface we can see the agency seed. Let's check the other routers which were already configured. Let us say PE3, where I have enabled these TI-LFA as well. So in that case you will see the multiple agency seed. So let's say for this 9.9.35.3 interface, you see the backup is 1. So this is the backup eligible TI-LFA. So this agency segment is 24002, and the backup non-eligible agency seed is 24003. Means the interface which are going to consider for the if we this interface is considered for the backup, then this agency will be used for that particular packet. If we match that value, so these are index value. This one is for R1 IP4, 4001 is for the IP6 which you have configured, 2 is for R2, 4002 is for IPv6. So in that way we are seeing all the index here. So let's say the agency seed. So you will see so many agencies. Some are with the backup 0, backup 1. Then for the level 1 there will be separate agency seed. For level 2 there will be separate agency seed. For IPv6 there will be separate agency seed. For IPv4 there will be separate agency seed. To see the ping for the destinations R6, we are able to see the packet, and if we trace route it, yeah, so we can see the label push for R6 is 16,006. let's configure the anycast set between R1 and R2. So let's say this P1 and P2 are acting as a multi-homing for the same C. In that scenario we can enable. So let's configure it. So I need to configure the separate loopback. So let's say loopback 12. If your address is 12.12.12.12/32 router ISIS core, then we need to call that interface loopback 12 address family IPv6 unicast. Then we are doing the same prefix set absolute. Let's say 17,001, and we need to clear the N flag here because this anycast set I am configuring for the group of node, not for the single node. So we need to clear this node flag. So this is the important configuration for the anycast set. So only this much configuration is required for the anycast set. We will commit it, and the same configuration will go to the R2. If you see the show ISIS database verbose, you should see the all agency seed or prefixes related to that. So if we see here, for anycast loopback we have configured this 1001 is the index value, and if we see here node flag is set 0, and if we see the prefix set for the loopback 0, node flag has set 1. So that because it is for the node, this is for the group of node.